Hey, this is Tonya, and if you haven't heard already, each month the editorial podcast team at Apple chooses a show they think listeners might really like. And ta-da! They chose us as their spotlight for the month of March. So if you're new here, welcome. We like to call ourselves that one friend you call or text after a long day, the one who gets you. Every Thursday, we have soul-nourishing conversations that make you think, make you feel, and maybe inspire you to take action in your own life. We're taking on what liberation looks and feels like for Black Americans, and this season we're focused on how to decolonize our expressions of love and desire. Future seasons, we're exploring new ways of nourishing, educating, and building wealth for ourselves. And we're on this journey with some dynamic thinkers who are teaching us what it means to live beyond survival mode and thrive in this country. Please subscribe so you don't miss a minute and share your thoughts by giving us a review. And thank you for choosing Truth Be Told. Okay, so on our last episode, we talked about the importance of sexual liberation. The big takeaway was that we've got to be honest with ourselves and our partners about what we want or don't want sexually, and how this important work is part of the decolonizing process. Well, this week, we sent our producer, Aisha, on a mission to answer the age-old question that came up for us after that conversation. What does this kind of radical honesty look like in a relationship?
What does it look like if the foundation of what you're building is built on truth and honesty? And what could you imagine if the foundation is built on truth?
Aisha scoured the internet and found Ericka Hart and Ebony Donnley. They're a couple based in New York with somewhat of a cult following.
We just talk about everything, even when it is challenging. We'll say, like, this is hard for me to talk about, but I want to talk to you about it.
That's Ericka, talking about their relationship for the web series Style Like You. You know, there's a lot of relationship content out there, but Ericka and Ebony have this way of getting into the dynamics of their relationship with grace and humor in ways that feel productive. Here's Ebony a few years ago, talking with Ericka for the YouTube series The Skin Deep.
I think I might struggle with sex addiction.
Yeah.
Like, to pornography.
Yeah.
I think I struggle with that. And when I was looking up, like, about the entomologist who, like, does bug stuff,
Yeah.
I was also looking up, like, stuff about sex addiction and, like, reading people's sex addiction stories.
So in this video, when Ebony shares that revelation, Ericka's face softens. She doesn't show anger or shame or judgment. Her eyes are inquisitive. She's showing love and empathy to Ebony's honesty. You know, this kind of truth sharing blew Aisha and I away because for us growing up, we never really saw examples of couples openly working through their problems like this.
Like, all of us have lies in our family.
Don't we?
So when I look at them, I'm like, where's the lie?
So we called up Ericka and Ebony to learn more about what it actually takes to be this honest. Here's Ebony.
Me being honest in a relationship is me being honest with myself. So all the things that I'm able to tell myself about myself, I should be able to tell that to my partner or partners.
Ebony says that internal work, it just might be the most radical part of this kind of honesty. On this episode of Truth Be Told, what does it really take to be radically honest with ourselves for the benefit of our relationships? And how might being this honest open ourselves up to more love, more joy, and self-acceptance, while also being a pathway to our collective liberation? Stay with us. It all started 5 years ago with a Tinder swipe.
Yeah.
They owe us some money at this point.
I know, we should just start saying.
Ericka and Ebony's first date was at a park. They bonded over 2 bottles of kombucha and hours of conversation. Ericka was mesmerized by Ebony's intellect.
Any conversation Ebony can be in. Like, there isn't anything that Ebony doesn't know, I feel like, but absolutely nothing that he can't spell, right? I really feel like he should be in a spelling bee constantly.
I was when I was a child.
You should be in adult spelling bees today.
Yeah, in the beginning, there was romance, but there was also a lot to work through. Like all of us, they were coming to each other with baggage, complex experiences. Ericka laid it all out for Ebony that first date at the park.
So I think I immediately told you I'm a breast cancer survivor, I'm going through a divorce, and I'm dating somebody else because in poly relationships, you do have to be straight up.
Being polyamorous means Ericka is open to having intimate relationships with more than one partner, with the informed consent of all partners involved. We'll get to that a little bit later. These days, Ericka and Ebony spend a lot of time together in their personal and professional lives. Ericka is a sex educator who is called to give talks and workshops all around the world on the intersection of race, gender, sexuality, and social justice. And Ebony is an audio engineer and writer who also happens to be Ericka's manager. Recently, they decided to start trying to conceive through IVF, so there's a lot of moving parts in their relationship. We kicked off our conversation talking about one of the biggest reasons people are not honest in their relationships, and that's fear. Here's Ebony.
I know for one, I do struggle sometimes with being vulnerable. And I know people might think we're radically honest or that I somehow exude that, but it takes a lot of practice. And I'm oftentimes left very uncomfortable with some of the things that I may share or say openly or in public about myself or about things that I go through. So I always had this moment of self-consciousness, lots of moments of self-consciousness and awareness of like, what do people think about me? Is this going to make me somehow less desirable in the world than I already might be if I just let go of my, sort of toxic masculinity kind of facades or armor that I keep every day to shield myself from the world or to, be seen as a man or to be seen as a man and therefore valuable. And so all these different things.
I don't like to claim this so often, but I will say that I have bits of perfectionism in me. I don't know where it comes from. Some inherited white supremacy along the way. So that perfectionism and thought that things have to be perfect. Like I just want it to go the way that I think in my head it's supposed to go. And when it doesn't, it's hard for me to be radically honest that I'm upset about it. But I also think our partnership has taught me to be honest with myself as well. Because I don't think I've been demanded to be honest in this way in a relationship. I have cheated on partners before and didn't value honesty.
The thing I'm hearing, though, because, man, when you talk about being a perfectionist, this is one of my weakest points, too, because I definitely am a perfectionist. But what I'm hearing is that also Ebony keeps you honest because challenges the perfectionism within you. Had you had that before, this partnership where someone is keeping you honest by taking you to task for your behaviors in ways in a loving way that allows you to open up to all of those things that you're talking about?
No, actually. And I've talked a lot about Ebony and our partnership in the way that Ebony worships me. And I don't think that I've ever made that clear on what that looks like. Like, yes, he does remind me that I'm beautiful and, dotes after me and flirts with me on a regular basis. But it is truly the high regard that he has of me and not a pedestal, right? Ebony is a Christian, so nobody is going above God anyway.
My mom is neck and neck.
Mom is neck and neck with God, right? But I appreciate not being put on a pedestal, right? Because when you're on a pedestal, there is no room for error. So I feel very much held with Ebony in that he will definitely challenge me to show up in ways that maybe I never have before.
I'm curious, when you learned that Ericka, when you all met, you were going through a divorce, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your biggest fear in becoming a partner with someone who is going through a divorce?
That's a great question. I honestly did not care about that for some reason. Like, as soon as Ericka explained to me, like, hey, and she told me pretty much, I think it was the first day?
Yeah, I like to get all of that.
And you was like, look, I'm going through a divorce right now. It came about organically. and you told me not so much as a disclosure, but just to give me some insight into the relationship. And when you told me you were with a white person, like in an interracial relationship, I was like, okay, I see why it's ending. You know, like it didn't bother me so much. I didn't think it was fraud or anything, or like there was some lingering feelings. It really didn't. It didn't sound like there was a lot of. It sounded like it had already just been done, but they needed to get the legal paperwork out of the way. So it really did not bother me at all. I think the only thing that bothered me, because Ericka was also in the middle of a divorce and also in an active poly relationship with another person. So not only were you divorced with somebody else, you also had another person on the side. Yeah.
Polyamorous relationships require an extreme amount of honesty, right? A lot of, radical honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
And that's something that monogamous relationships have to learn from too. Right. And I think that is something that I potentially brought into this relationship because I do identify as poly, and was, when we first started dating, was still dating somebody else. It was fizzling to a big degree, but it was still something I had to work out.
I wasn't tripping though.
You weren't.
I think I was. I did. I feel like Ericka has upgraded my relationship politics because at the time, you know, growing up in this society, I was like, polyamory means that there's some value taken away from me or your feelings for me, and that there's no possible way, or it should be taboo, to be attracted or to be partnered with more than one person at the same time. And Ericka opened to my eyes that is a complete fallacy, in my opinion. And this could be, everybody expresses love or has preferred relationship configurations that work best for them. And monogamy is definitely not something I would decry as a wrong or a negative way of being. But I did start to realize, like, okay, I definitely could be attracted and have sexual feelings or feelings of love or whatever for more than one person at one time. So why should I then, that wouldn't be enough to have me be like, I can't talk to you no more. It was just like, that was an easy...
I felt that way too.
It was just an easy one where I'm like, it really doesn't matter to me. As long as you have some love for me, like the song say, I don't care about the other girls, just be good to me. That song. You know what I'm saying? So just be good to me and then we be all right.
Just be good to me.
Yeah, you know. Yeah.
I think I heard you say before, though, that like when it comes to this idea of the construction of a relationship, it's kind of like you have to flick that white man that's always on your shoulder. Did you say something like that? Like you always have to interrogate and think about, because we do live in this world with that white man in the corner on our shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. We used to do a workshop, not Black Love, Not Complicit with White Systems, where we talked about, so it wasn't, I guess we could have named it flicking that white person off your shoulder, but it was more so us talking about what love could look like and how a Black politic has greatly informed love.
Yes.
And how you can have Black love, again, not informed by white supremacy. And I think that is something that we strive to do on a regular basis. And I think that also informs our radical honesty as well, is talking about the ways in which systems may show up in our relationship and how we are actively addressing them on a regular basis. Because sure, we're both educators and we know what white supremacy is and we talk about it and talk about it in a structural way. But interpersonally, it's important that we talk about it as well. Like when patriarchy shows up, how are we having conversations about that? When there's assumptions that one person do more than the other, or labor is not, divided in a way that feels good for the other, like actually talking about that from a place of, okay, we want this to be an equitable partnership, right? Where both people are honored.
And this is 5 years of doing this. Almost 6. So it's not no overnight, we have such radical politics. No. It's like, no, we got everything that everybody else got.
Yep. Praise God for our couples therapists.
Right? Because that's what I was thinking. As I'm hearing you all talk, it's like, it is clear that both of you are educators. It is clear that you're communicators and you have the language behind this. And so for folks listening, they may be like, I hear it, but like, I can't get the words even out of my mouth to be able to start this kind of conversation of radical honesty with my partner about all of these important things that impact our relationship. What are the first steps you give people when they're like, I'm ready to like open up my relationship beyond the bounds that we've already set for ourselves?
I remember saying something to Ericka like, I have to belong to me, because in so many of my other relationships, I belonged to them, or I felt like I did, or I needed to belong to somebody, because me on my own, I didn't feel like enough. And I think two people being autonomous and everybody belonging to themselves is not antithetical to collaboration. It's not anti-community. It is very, very, it works well in partnership. Like when you realize that your partner or whoever you want to be with or date or whatever doesn't belong to you and you don't belong to them. I know we listen to Genuine and all that. You remember that song he had? Complete? Something about, I don't know if it was Cisco or Genuine had a song like, without you, my life is incomplete. Your life ain't incomplete. Your life is not incomplete. I love those brothers, but your life is not incomplete without another person. Like, you are totally enough. Like, you on your own, you're enough. So when you go and you get with somebody, that's just an instant upgrade. It sounds really abstract, but I just feel like the belonging to is like a central theme for how we think about relationships, at least in this country, in a Western way, rather. Whereas the cis-het way, which is very much so, you mine, I'm yours, we each other's, that's it.
To me, though, what it sounds like you're saying is that you're challenging the idea of marriage.
Yeah. A little bit, but not really, because
but that informs a lot of relationships, right? That you're supposed to, the amount of time you're supposed to spend, like 5-6 years together. Somebody is supposed to propose, generally speaking, a masculine person. If we're thinking about cis heteropatriarchy, and then you're supposed to get married and have 2.5 kids, and have a minivan eventually, right? Like, this is what we are all indoctrinated into. So that rhetoric is absolutely antithetical to a marriage where you literally in vows, you become one. Right? People will say, now you are one. You know, that is something. And you don't have to, but the state even regards you as one.
It's nothing wrong with being one. I feel like being one is fine.
Okay.
But we are one. We're one, but we're also ourselves.
But that's not how the state sees it.
No, it's not.
Yes.
But I think with marriage can look like whatever way you want to look like.
Yes.
It does not have to look. I just really mean that you can fashion your relationship to look whatever way you want it to look. And it doesn't have to start baseline of you belonging to another person as their property, as marriage was really initially created, around property ownership. Right. So again, you can really go back and just blow the lid off of all of that and really figure out and be so creative and imaginative. Ericka's been reading Miriam Kaba's book about abolition, and Miriam Kaba was talking about, pushing her imagination. That's what abolition requires. And I think the same way in our relationship politics, where it's like our imaginations sometimes stop in the area of love. It's like we would rather have romance than imagination. Like a lot of the romance novels, like it was created, it's a commercial advent romance. It's not normal or natural. It's a created thing. And so I feel like there's so much more growth and room and just imagination that we could be having around how we receive love and how we give love and what we really want. And I feel like a lot of that requires us to be like, damn, like I am a thing that deserve love or deserve, and I struggle with this because I don't even believe that. And I'm with somebody who really loves me. And I still don't all the time love myself or think I deserve love. But we do. Each and every last person deserve whatever love is for them.
And so with that, like you mentioned, like you still, it is a work in progress, a forever journey for you to come into this self-realization of love, like true love and acceptance of who you are. But Ericka, how do you affirm Ebony in the midst of their insecurities?
Something that I've been working on, even just very recently in my own therapy sessions, is holding space for the complexity it is to be a human and all of the things that Ebony carries from his childhood into present day, the experiences that he's had, the things that impact him, the reason for why he is the way he is. I am a fixer. I love to rescue people. I care so deeply about my people. And that's something that I have to work on, right? Like how my people have started to relate to me over time is the person who will just receive what they've been going through. And that is challenging for me as well, because I don't have an abundance of emotional labor, right? It could get very sticky, my capacity, right? I don't have an abundance of that. Like, I just think that I get tender too. Like, I need to be held as well. So I think with Ebony, I'm really working on having a lot of compassion for his complexity, to really listening to what comes up for him inside within his insecurities. And with that, I get to have my insecurities as well, right? I get to talk about the things that are bothering me that I oftentimes, because of that perfectionism, don't want to talk about, right? I just want to push it down and pretend like my fat phobia doesn't exist, right? I just want to push down like that my gender dysphoria doesn't exist, or that I don't like my hair or the way that it looks today, like all of that stuff. So sometimes it feels like a mirror and sometimes it feels too much. So being mindful of when I'm met with a mirror and really holding space for him, because he does that for me. Every day we have like an emotional check-in. It's that developed truly out of COVID. We always ask each other how we're doing, but with COVID in the morning, we get up and be like, let's check in emotionally. What are you feeling today? What's going on for you?
Man, I love the idea that you guys check in with each other emotionally every single day. So it's a little bit more than just, how are you today? What language are you using to tap into that additional layer?
Like, what's coming up for you?
How are you feeling? Like, we would say, how are you feeling emotionally? Because we're both two very intellectual people. And we love to be in the intellect, right? I'm sure you've heard it already. So it's important for us to be like, I feel sad today. Like, no intellect about that. Like, I just feel sad, or
I don't know why.
Feel depressed, right? I don't know why, but I feel depressed, or I feel emotional. I feel like I want to cry, or I feel happy, right? And I don't know why.
Yeah, and Ericka, you've worked on yourself to where you can say to yourself, if Ebony is saying, I feel sad today, then you're not stepping in to try to fix it. You're just listening.
Yeah, it's still something I'm working on. Yeah. But I'm better with it with Ebony than I am with some of my family members and my friends.
Have you all made promises to yourself that this is a forever relationship?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I would say so. Like,
yeah, I'm loyal to the soil. So for me, I just, my thing is I just stay down. It's like we just stay down for one another. It's just the best. That's the best way to put it. Like, I'm just staying down for her and she's staying down for me. And I don't feel like you've ever done or indicated anything to me that you feel like is temporary or you might want to one day leave. I feel like I feel like there's things that I know that I won't do, because sometimes I'm like, what would make you leave me? But I'm like, I don't know if I would do any of those things, or that I would need to do any of those things to make you leave.
I mean, I hope you would just tell me if you want to leave. I hope you don't do nothing.
No, but I'm talking about to make it like, I don't know. I guess it really, that's a good question, because it makes me wonder oftentimes like why relationships end, besides the fact that they just naturally sometimes end. But like, what are the things that would have people be like, nah, I can't do it. And I'm not talking about nothing hella egregious, like the obvious things, but like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we've definitely talked like this is it. Like this is what it's gonna be. And I'm done with with any more intimate relationships. Perhaps a sexual relationship with somebody else could potentially happen. But even that, at this moment, I'm just like, I'm not there. Yeah. I think because Ebony and I are working on creating life right now, that feels very forever for me. Like that feels like a promise of forever, because it's us creating a whole generation, right? A whole new life. So that feels like a promise, a very expensive promise via IVF, but a promise nonetheless.
But even in that, to go back to what you said, like you might, there could be in the future, it's not what you're thinking about now, but a sexual relationship. Even in that, you'd be honest with Ebony that was how you were feeling and that you wanted to explore it.
Yeah, we've already, now that's something that we've explicitly talked about. Something that Ebony more so wants more than I do. I just feel tired.
Tell me, Ebony, tell me a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did have something to say about the last question really quickly.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I think the only way that I feel like we would ever end is if our political and beliefs around sort of liberation and our liberatory politic around blackness, if for some reason one of us was to shift in a very dramatic way around that, I think that would be difficult. I don't foresee that.
If you started thinking like Mandy Moore was attractive or something.
Mandy Moore.
Kim Kardashian.
Mandy Moore. But it's not even about, like, if you just started one day being like you would have to turn into Clarence Thomas or something like that. If you really just started giving Clarence Thomas, then would be like, I can't be with you. You know we can't be together if you start
or you became
like that.
Kanye. I do have concerns that you could become a Kanye because you are very, very talented.
Ericka, please.
You're very smart and you have musical skills. And I worry that if your career took off musically, I worry what could
that
become.
That sounds like Kanye worship.
No, it's not Kanye worship. It's Kanye concern.
Nah, that's different. We ain't got enough time to be talking about him, and I'm not wasting on air time on no Kanye. So no.
I know that's another show for another day. Yeah,
that's another show
for some other guests. I have that fantasy about like a black orgy where like all black people like who are not related to one another like having like.
I hope they're not related to one another.
None of them are related to one another. It's still too far off the rails. But I do, of course I have those thoughts. I've had those thoughts before. Not probably actively right now, but I do think that, again, I was just upgraded. You had turned me out to the thought that others that
you're
you
just
can
a freak.
have
I didn't turn you out. You're a freak.
Multiple relationships with people that could actually be generative and that could be healthy and that could be consensual and that everybody could just get along.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even that you were doing it. It's just the fact that you're like identifying that way. I had that language. I didn't have no language of poly in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that language.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your advice to folks who might think, okay, I want to talk to my spouse about this. I want to talk about my feelings around being sexually attracted to other people. Maybe I don't even want to explore it, but I want to be open and honest enough to say it, but I don't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
Period.
And even when you're poly, you feel that way. So there's people, jealousy is a very natural emotion. Feeling insecure is also very natural. So not to say that just because people are actively poly, they don't feel like, oh, is something wrong? Or why are they dating somebody else? Or how come they don't just want to be like, we're human. We have all of those thoughts just the same. But I would say if you are interested in having this conversation with a partner, I would start reading books like Opening Up, The Ethical Slut. The second version is a bit better than the first. I would engage your partner in reading some text about it and also for yourself so you can make yourself aware. Even in Opening Up, if I'm not mistaken, has a lot of sort of guidelines on how to even broach the subject. Mm-hmm. But if you're both reading it, then you both can, sort of, or all of you can get some understanding on what this could look like.
I want to get back to the self-body image thing. Because both of you guys have talked about your struggles with your perceptions of yourself, your fat phobia, maybe body dysmorphia. Mm-hmm. And what are some of the ways that you've been able to move beyond that to feel beautiful to your partner?
What helps me is I start to realize that even though I believe something about my body, it's not really real. Now, I'm not saying dysphoria, dysmorphia, all of that is definitely in the world, is real. It takes on a real form, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with my body because I don't like it. You know, it doesn't mean that if I say I don't like my rolls, it doesn't mean the existence of them is wrong or bad or that somebody else won't like it. And sometimes I feel like I get so wrapped up in what I'm thinking where I'm like, no, I'm not going to deny you the pleasure of my body. If you feel like you like the rolls and the butt and you like to, get to feel on all of this, if that's what you like, who am I to, not indulge you, to deny you those pleasures? But I think sometimes it is helpful to sort of be a little less convicted about the negative things you feel about your body because you start to convince yourself that it's true. Yeah. And oftentimes it's just, again, white cis man in your head or on your shoulder telling you that this is what a body or of a man or a body of a quote unquote woman or whatever is supposed to look like, or a desirable body. Whatever it is you think, it's still there, and it's still, as Ericka says and has taught me, it's inherited. And as somebody who don't like to be dominated by something, I'm like, why would I be dominated by a thought that I didn't come up with myself?
Y'all, this has been so great. Okay, we have a question from our producer, Aisha. Aisha, take it away.
Yes, so relationships can end when there's no space for growth, and you both seem to create space for one another to show up as yourselves while also being allowed to evolve. Have you all ever had a conversation that felt potentially relationship ending or had conflicting things on your yes, no, and maybe list, and how did you communicate through that conflict?
Probably the conversation around new sexual partners. Yes. That felt, in the beginning, it felt relationship ending. This was brought up like 4 or 5 years ago. And when we first started dating, Ebony was like, I'm not poly. I'm not interested in nobody else but you. I don't want to do that. I respect that you do it, but I'm not feeling that. And then like a year later it was like, I could experiment with other people. Like I could have a sexual relationship with other people. And for me, I was like, oh, something is wrong. Right. And in a lot of my relationships, whether it be familial, platonic, or romantic, I have always felt like something is wrong with me. Right. Or something is happening where I am the issue. So that was hard. It took years to really work through and to really hear each other around. But I would say, yes, that conversation felt relationship ending.
Yeah. Also, it's also what you mentioned about like making space for growth. It's also making space for your partner's insecurities. And I did a really bad job with that. Like where I was not where it was like, I don't understand how your insecurities and past relationship traumas should be impacting how I want to express myself sexually. But I'm like, that's expecting you to not be a human being. That's expecting you to essentially be perfect and be like, okay, yes, like, I'm a sex educator. I'm sex positive. Like, anything you want to do, like, I'm not jealous. I don't have no insecurities. I'm good. Like, and just really wanting you to respond in that way. And I think I really did want you to respond in a certain way. And I was putting that forward instead of listening to like what those past relationship traumas are and making space for that insecurity. That was very difficult for me to do.
Yeah.
Is to make space for the insecurity.
Yeah.
Ebony and Ericka, this has been a gift talking to the two of you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank y'all so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much, Tonya.
Yes, thank you.
This was amazing.
This was really great.
That was Ebony Donnley and Ericka Hart talking with us about radical honesty and how being honest with ourselves and our partners can be a pathway to liberation. How do you define radical honesty? Are you practicing it in your relationship? If not, what's holding you back? Give us a call at 424-279-8475 or email me at Tonya@deartbt.com. You can also use the hashtag DearTBT on Twitter or Instagram. One word. Truth Be Told is a production of TMI Productions and is produced by Ayana Angel, Aisha Brown, James T. Green, and Enrico Benjamin, and in association with Molten Heart and Fearless Media. Special thanks to Brittany Luce, Sam Rafelson, and Rochelle Roberts. Our theme music is Rest by Otis McDonald and Zora's Moon by Candace Hoyes. And we're funded in part by the Heising Simons Foundation and the Ford Foundation. I'm Tonya Mosley. Until next time.